and why play was important to them, why it was important to them. And today we're going to hear and get some parent perspective, right, into why playful learning is important to these parents. And again, like last time, I will say this is a snapshot, right? We say all students aren't, like some students are not representative of all students, just like our parents tonight are not representative of all parents. And so we're going to talk about all the different ways that we are looking to get student and family voice, to get that in a second. We're gonna do a lot of activities tonight, and I fixed Poll Everywhere. So if you were here last week and you know we had that issue with Poll Everywhere, our team has fixed it, so it'll actually work this time, I promise. And then we're going to do a breakout session of really getting into some of the weeds together. Do folks have questions about the agenda? We good? Thumbs up. All right. I love it. So just a reminder, this whole endeavor of really launching this Play Rocks, the Rochester City School District, is brought to you by parents. And so while Healthy Kids staff, Alicia, Beatrice, and I have been behind the scenes kind of pulling things together, it was parents who told us that this was important to them and said, we got to bring folks together. And we need to do this beyond just Healthy Kids and Common Ground Health. We need to bring in some of the big players when it comes to play. And so we have a very robust planning team of all these different organizations. If you were part of the planning team, you can kind of give a little wave so people know who you are, do a little fun emoji. But we are all here to support you in this work. As a reminder too, our goals of the convening together was to develop our collective vision for playful learning in the Rochester City School District, where we set our goals and strategies, both short-term and long-term, of things we want to see happen. And this is going to be an action plan, y'all. This is not something of we meet, we do all this feedback and it sits on the table. This is about all of us coming together to do better for our babies, and all of us deciding what are the action steps we need to take to do better, right? And to push the district to be better for our kids and families. We are going to center family and youth voice. We are amplifying some of the community bright spots. And we're going to work together, like I said, to educate, advocate, and coordinate for change, right? Because enough's enough. It's time to stop working in silos and do this work together. Like I said, you know, these sessions are one of 3 ways our whole team is hoping to get feedback from students and families. So we have been hosting these 3 convening sessions, and the majority of you tonight are actually students and families. We have some organizations trickled in here as well. So we're doing these as feedback sessions. We also have a live survey for both students and families in English and Spanish, where we're collecting feedback. So stay tuned for the follow-up email for those links. You know, please share it out far and wide. If your kid has a really active teacher right now, or you're a very active teacher and you want copies of this survey printed so that you can hand it out in your classroom, we are more than happy to do that. We have Heather, who you hear from later, she went over to school too, where her daughter is going to go in the fall, and asked her former teacher over there. And now they're doing all 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students are going to take this on Monday. So, you know, you never know. So if you want those hard copies, just drop that note in the chat. Tell us how many you want. We'll drop them off to you. It's also online, by the way, if that's easier too. We're also going to be hosting kitchen table conversations. And so that is really us going out to parents and students where they are. So if you are a parent champion on this call and you have a bunch of friends who also have kids in the school district, and you're like, I'm happy to host a couple of people and talk about the power of play, we would love that. We'll come to you, we'll help facilitate that with you. And so if you're interested in that, please, again, drop it in the chat. We are more than happy to go to you and whoever else to get the important feedback from folks. like I said, our timeline again is we're doing these sessions. We're going to be doing the survey throughout June and July alongside the conversations with the community. And then we're hoping to really launch our collective vision. Our team will spend some time in August really reviewing all of the feedback we got. And then in September, we will launch our community vision and action plan, and are hoping to bring Dr. Brian Wright, who is a very well-known early childhood scholar who writes about the brilliance of Black boys, but is an expert in all things play. And so really excited to bring him to Rochester and to see the perspective he brings to this work. Our team has been talking to him and he is so excited about what we all are doing together over the next few sessions. So it should be awesome. So our goals for today are, a little bit more narrow than our broader vision, because each of our sessions are building upon one another. So today we're going to start developing what that vision statement is for what playful learning should look like in RCSD for every student. We're also going to spend time in our breakout rooms really diving into what are the current assets, what the current barriers are, what are some of the opportunities that we all see when it comes to play and learning in the district. And each of your Rockstar facilitators have an exercise to walk through you with that. Do folks have questions before I give you the quick recap of what happened last session? All right, seeing none, I'm gonna move on. So just as a quick recap from last time. So we talked a little bit about why play is important. And so this is an actual revisited Word blog because our poll everywhere kind of fell flat on us last time. But really you can see here that given all of the feedback that we got, play is important for learning, health, fun, joy, the social aspects of play. And so you see a lot of a really amazing stuff that play can bring to our lives and to the lives of kids. We also spent some time sharing feedback of why it was important for kids to have playful learning experiences. And so what our team did is took all of that feedback and really grouped it. And so what we found as common themes that were emerging from all of the different ideas you were sharing with us was that playful learning is really important for kids because it builds relationships, it promotes kids' health, it promotes authentic student success, it promotes social emotional skills, it advances brain development, it is fun, right? I'm so glad that one showed up. It's one of the best ways to learn, and it's important because we need to really be focused on equitable opportunities for all of our students. And play is one way that we can provide equitable access, right? So I would say if you have additional thoughts on why you think play is important, drop them in the chat as we keep going. If you weren't able to attend the first meeting, we are still welcoming your feedback and we'll keep moving forward. We also learned last session that there's a lot of organizations doing a lot of work. So this is a diagram of showing the organizations, funders, all these different tables that are working on play in schools, play in neighborhoods. And that middle part is really the intersection of what are the groups and people that are doing both, right? And when you look at the both, and I'll send these out because I know it looks probably really small on your thing to read all of those things. I will send that out after today. But there are, it's honestly a lot of parents and neighborhood folks and things like that are doing both of these things. And we're doing a lot of work, right? But unfortunately, despite all of this energy and all of this momentum around supporting play and playful learning, we have these amazing bright spots, right? We have all these great programs happening. We see, policies that have been created that advance playful learning. We see those things. Unfortunately, there's too many silos. So these organizations and folks aren't necessarily talking to one another, right? We're all in our one lane. and focused on our organizational mission or what our funder is telling us to do. And we're not looking across how we can collaborate to better serve our kids and families, right? And what's happening as a result of that, right, is that there is a lot of great stuff happening, but it's not equitable to all of our students in the district. And I think one of the students, Maya, last week, you can imagine that was only a week ago, last week said it really well, that, you know, at School 58, she knows that she has all of these amazing opportunities afforded to her because that school has more privilege than some of the others. And, you know, the students pretty much flat out said that they know that these opportunities are not equitable across the board. And I think that's why all of us are here, right? Is that we've seen the good things. We know that it's not consistent, right? And how do we move forward? How do we ensure that every kid, regardless of their school, regardless of their zip code, regardless of where they are, that they are all receiving the same learning experience and are afforded the same opportunities, right? So with that, I am so thrilled to turn it over to Heather Feynman, who is a parent leader and a member of our Healthy Kids Coalition. Heather? Is Heather here? Oh my goodness. Beatrice, is Heather here?
I see her name on there. I can try to give her a call too. She might be trying to serve the kids dinner too.
All right, well, we're gonna kick off a parent panel just in a moment. We are just waiting for Heather. But in the meantime, do folks have questions about last session? Is there anything that our team missed in the reflections?
I'm here, sorry.
You're okay. All right, I'm gonna turn it over to you, Heather, to kick off the parent panel discussion.
Oh, okay. I probably should you want to probably see me, huh? Hi guys. We're starting today about asking questions with all of the parents, and I'm not exactly sure how many parents or who the parents are. Here we go. We're gonna start talking about what is going on in Rochester. What is going on in the district? What is it that we want to see? What plan of action can we do? What can we accomplish? Are there just two parents tonight? Am I missing things?
So there are, Heather, for the parent panel, it's Heather, is Rasha Kim, who is on, it's Dexter Alexander. Namisi is in class, but she's here. She was originally planning to join us. However, she is trying to multitask with class and being here. So there should be 4 parents, and Luz Golong is here as well.
Hi.
Hi.
Was trying to set up my daughter for her ASL interpreter so that she could be seen. So sorry, I'm not the technical person.
I'm here. I was having some difficulty. It wouldn't let me unmute for some reason. But yeah, I'm here.
Thank God I'm not the only one. Welcome, everybody. I would like to know what is currently happening at your child's school. What is play look like? Luz, you want to start, Yvette?
Okay, so what was the question, honey?
What does
Sorry.
school play look like in your child's school right now? What is it? What's happening at your child's school? What does play look like there?
In all actuality, I don't think there's much play at school. My son doesn't mention too much of play. Just schoolwork and home, but he hasn't mentioned much about having play at school. And that kind of was like, that's what had me just thinking that question today. I was like, "Oh, really, what is going on?"
Right. Dexter, do you have any insight?
Yes, I do. Currently, I have a grandson who attends School 58, and I understand that's one of the lucky schools with a lot of resources. My grandson is now in the first grade, and he rants and raves about the garden area. He likes bugs and flowers, so that's really up his alley. When I asked him about structured games, games that he plays along with his teachers, he usually says that they just watch. They sit down and watch. And coming from a different lens as a Playwork employee, I am kind of disappointed with the fact that I know that Rochester School District offers training to teachers how to play and incorporate play and learning together. And I'm kind of disappointed that not more teachers are taking advantage of that training and moving forward.
Last week on the youth panel, there was a lot of discussion about how they realized it was not equitable throughout the school. Raheem, do you have some things to add?
Me,
Mhm.
me. Considering from last time until now, for what I observed, uh, the play that's not happening in most schools are indeed most unfortunate. But the thing is, it's something that be taken away from school long ago. So I don't think at this present time many schools would know what that means anymore, or even teachers. And to Mr. Dexter dilemma, I agreed. You know, they are trained to do some type of play or some type of interaction to, you know, to relate to the children and all, but it's not going to be something that is warranted. You know, it's very selective and unfortunately, you know, group in certain categories and certain people versus everyone.
What do you think we could do to change, and what would you like to see?
What can change is that we can bring back the playtime in arts. That's, I've been saying it for the longest, but these things help with, especially with our children, young and old alike. It helps with the development. It helps how to teach them, how they learn. By observing they play and observing things they do, is better and easier to adapt to identified weaknesses and strengths, even in they play, how they coordinate, how they listen, how to follow direction. You know, even if something simple as running, these things gives you free information. So what I like to see is that they implement that in the curriculum itself, in the course of the day. You know, interrupt the book to read, the math, you know, interrupt it a bit so it is incorporated with the lesson. You know, and so you can get a better learning from the youths, and they would be more appreciative of their lesson and learnings.
Um, I mean, schools
I didn't hear you cut out.
is Coach Dex you said you work at the schools. Are you a coach at one of the schools?
You're muted.
I'm not muted.
Sorry,
He was muted.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Currently, I am a site coordinator for Playworks, and that titles it's my responsibility to ensure that play is going on in the schools that I'm assigned to. Currently, there are 3 site coordinators in Rochester, and each of us service 4 to 5 schools. Um, we are there to provide training for staff. We are there to model and facilitate games in order for teachers and students to pick up on and hopefully carry on their own independently. We are there to coordinate any type of events that the schools might need us for. For example, if they have a game night or a family night, we can be there to provide games, instructions, and so forth. Um, Back to what I was saying before about playing and what Mr. Raz said earlier, the incorporation of play and education is not stressed in the schools that I am working in. This year it's been all virtual. So teachers are very much appreciative of me coming into the classroom virtually because I provide that needed break from the computer. And I know they appreciated my services this year, but I hope they next year moving forward when we're back into the classrooms that they appreciate that play time and that break time is essential for these students to learn, not just be hitting over the head with reading math, science, facts all the time. But if we can find a way to be creative with it, that they're learning in a fun and interactive way, I think that would keep the retention of the schools up, the engagement up, and gives these kids who don't have certain confidences in maybe, like Mr. Oz said, in their coordination, in music, there's somewhere, somehow we can hit something that they can relate to and it can translate across the board.
Right, I totally agree. Music expands the mathematical brain is what is science tells us. And if we had music and arts and being able to see things from all different perspectives, I think that would make a total difference. And taking these things away from these kids has been just devastating. Do you, Coach, you had just given a perfect example of what is missing because of COVID. Rod, do you think that COVID kids, and do you this year because of that, are they having less play because of COVID?
Well, I wouldn't say they have less play, but it's not connected, right? It's more individualized. Yes, they have a little more freedom. They can do their own individual things, but the purpose of gathering or socializing is to build up social skills and development of communication and as well as build team versus I, right? And then and have a support network, right? Because I mean, let's face it, you go to school, you have a tremendous amount of network amongst the kids, right? They're talking, interacting, they're playing, they're speaking on different music, different arts, different type of play. And now that everything's isolated, shut down, or halfway or partial, it kind of cuts down on those things, even though it's individually. And now you got children, I should say. I'm sorry, people. You have children now that if they wasn't completely uncomfortable with themselves as yet, but they are now because they are not with someone alike or similar or different, because there's no interaction. Doing a Zoom and doing the computer work, it takes away the elimination of communication of connection, that source of what's the word looking for? Family oriented or village, right? There's no connection, there's no touch, there's no feel, it's just, yes, we have some type of visual, but even the visual is not realistic. It's just digital. It's just digital. Whereas an adult, yes, you can adapt to it and you can see it, but as to a child, it's like, well, it's not the same as me hugging and sweating on each other or running together or playing or, playing music together or doing things, it doesn't build development. It's a disconnect, and everything's at a distance, and that can harden a child or distant a child, or it can do many many destructive things. There's good things in it, yes, but the destructive oftentimes is more visible than the benefits of what it can do.
I agree. I think that we don't see others struggling or how to lift other people up because we're in an isolated environment. We don't get to see the pride when somebody does something really well and they're given accolades. The empathy portion and the emotional gap that is taking place via Zoom, I think is pretty intense.
There's no
Yvette,
motivation.
right, exactly. Yvette, what do you think about what COVID has done to the classroom and playful learning?
I think it's caused more of a delay in everything. With COVID, I mean, I guess maybe some teachers are scared of maybe having them too close for play. I'm not sure. I think that would be it.
I think the CDC has given all these guidelines, and then New York State takes these guidelines and makes them different. And there's so much confusion. I mean, my daughter was in school. She got sent home today because her class is quarantined. So she's home for another 12 days. It's intense.
I mean, I get me wrong. I get the keep everyone safe, and I get the, be mindful, be careful. I get those things, but my thing is, these kind of divisions should be already in place, right? For example, when especially living in Rochester, right? We know in 1 week you can get 4 seasons and still have to function. So with the schooling in the schooling system, it should have already been prepared in a sense that, okay, if anything, we should have many methods or ways of teaching and having fun, right? And giving the motive, the motivation and the aspiration of getting children to be more interested in educating themselves by one, yes, giving them some kind of control of what it is they are learning and having fun with it, so they can have more interest to draw to it. I mean, no one plays a video game just because of the flashy colors and the little, sound effects. It's the graphics, it's the sound, it's the music, it's the style, it's the realistic or the unrealistic of it. It's the theme, right? With play, you give all these things to attract the child's attention and understanding of what they are learning or what they are getting. So I mean, something even at how it is now, even as warm as it is now, I mean, you can easily have class outside. You could easily have it where you learn math by playing outside, or you can learn science by being outside. You can learn, you can do gym outside. You can do so much things outside. Not to say that only do it when it's warm, but I mean, don't put them outside in the freezing cold, but nonetheless, it's a teachable moment. Make every moment a teachable moment, even something simple as socializing. Incorporate the play. Don't make this be the crippling factor why you cannot communicate and connect. Yes, everybody must be safe. I mean, yes, COVID is now old and it's not new, but the thing is, there's so many things out there, the stuff out there that things I can't even pronounce the name of, that's out there that can hurt us and kill us in many ways. But at the same time,
I would like to talk about why play is important to you. And why don't we start with Coach Dex, if you will? And Dexter, you want to talk about why play is important to you?
I can tell you personally why play is important to me. Coming from a household, I am second generation West Indian, and growing up in Brooklyn, I was the definition of a latchkey kid. After school, I was in the house until my parents came home. When my parents came home, it was too dark for me to go outside and play. So playing I took opportunities to play in school, and that's how I learned to deal with my friends and peers. That's how I learned the hierarchy of friendship, what friendships and relationship means. I learned the meaning of teamwork. I learned the meaning of giving it to your all because of playing a simple game with some guys that I never played with, but I see them at lunchtime. And I think that was a very powerful for me growing up. And as I got older, I went to a predominantly white school in Manhattan. Um, there was over 500 graduating students from my class, and only 11 minorities graduated that year. And that included African American, Hispanics, and Asians. So that culture shock and being surrounded by Hungarians, Polish people, Irish, Scottish, Italians, and not having much in common culturally, we found common ground in sports and play. And that made my education easier, more fun. Not only did competing on the field make me feel better, but it also translated across the board in my schoolwork and how I performed in classroom, because that competition and that fire was built up inside.
Yvette, why is play important to you?
Well, you know what, I was thinking about it today. When I was thinking about school and play, I was thinking about how when we were young, we played gym outside, we had baseball, kickball. We did a lot of different things, you know, even art was different back then. It was more hands-on. And things have changed over the years. And I think why it's important to me, it's we learn from it. It's healthy for us to play. My son is ADHD, so I think this would help out with his energy level. And also, you know, the kids, when they're playing, they also converse, they get to know each other. So there's a lot of reasons and play is important for me, and I think for a lot of families and a lot of children. We're missing out on how our childhood was, and now the kids are brought up, everything is from school, home, homework, electronics, no play.
School, electronics, home.
I'd
Ron,
like to jump in, Heather.
yes, go ahead.
So I have an older child who goes to SOTA, and I think this year has been especially important for play, right? Because there's so much that was taken away, and it's so important to cultivate joy, especially in hard times. That's why play is important to me. I know that as my child gets older, both inside and outside of school, there's less of an expectation that she will want to play, you know, and it kind of seems like it comes off as when older children play, they're perceived as mischievous. And it's even, I think, kind of discouraged, like it's more encouraged in sports, right? In a very structured type of way, and unstructured play, I don't see encouraged as much in older children. And I always know that, you know, we focus a lot on younger children, and that's important to develop wellness in those younger children. But as they get older, you know, I find myself having to advocate, like, no, she can play. Let her be, let her have fun, you know, let her go express herself. It's okay. And even actively having to do that with our friends, you know. So it's important to me, play is important to me and to us, because it helps children navigate life skills, to learn those skills and to practice them with their peers and with others. And, you know, it's important to help them, especially as they get older, to cultivate confidence, like to learn about themselves and cultivate that sense of self, and to hone in on their, you know, personal skills, to find out what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. And it's a great opportunity to help them build on that.
Can I just ask you another question? SOTA is based a lot on theater and arts. How do
Right.
you think COVID has affected the school?
It kind of puts a damper on that, right? Because these children who have identified that they like to learn with their whole beings, physically, interactively, through expression, it kind of took away a lot of that hands-on learning. And I did see an increase in some teachers trying to engage them in different ways, like through virtual games like Kahoots. And I think that was because teachers realized unless you tap into something other than the learning aspect of it, separate from play, you're not going to be successful at engaging these children. So I did see teachers come around and try to be more fun, like, you know, put their English learning into Kahoots. And then the kids were all, you know, revved up because they, you know, were being competitive and trying to score the highest points. And so they were engaged in that way in some parts. They also, like for PE, I think it was somewhat successful as well, Jim, because then they, you know, they had to do yoga and record themselves. And I don't think it was as fun as being there in person, but I think it did add to their, to some well-being, some sense of well-being.
We're going to take a small break because we want to advocate for what we talk about. We are going to take a play break, and Andrew from Play Rocks is going to walk us through it. And when we come back, Beatrice is going to ask us a couple more questions. Okay?
Awesome.
All right. So thank you everybody for the amazing conversations we're having. Of course, my phone decides to ring when it's time for me to talk. We are going to actually engage in, as a group, we're actually going to play a little movement trivia. So I will be putting some trivia questions on the board. We'll be answering them in the chat, and everyone will have an opportunity to get moving for those of us who are maybe a little less successful with our trivia answers. Our trivia questions will all be based around the month of June. So our first question, how it's going to work, I'll put the question on screen. People will have the ability to chat in their answers. We'll give people maybe 10 seconds to respond. And I will then list an exercise or an activity for folks to do if they are unsuccessful. So we're going to get started with our first question. Our first question is, during the month of June, what two zodiac signs occur? Aquarius and Pisces, Cancer and Leo, Scorpio and Sagittarius, or Gemini and Cancer? Please feel free to jump in the chat, share your answers. Give you maybe another 7-8 seconds to fill in. Now, for those of us who are less successful with our answers, we are going to run in place for 5 seconds. We're seeing a lot of answers pop up. All right, our answer for question 1 is 4. So if you chose Gemini and Cancer, you are correct. If you were less successful, you were going to join in with us running in place for 5 seconds. And we're going to count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, thank you, thank you. We are going to go on to the second question. Second question is, what colors are associated with the month of June? Red and green. Yes, they're tricky ones. Light blue, white and cream, green, russet and red, or 4, orange, red, and light cream. A couple more seconds, people to fill in. Now for next, if you are unsuccessful with this question, we're going to do 5 jumping jacks. And our answer for the color of June are 2, light blue, white, and cream. So if you were unsuccessful, we are going to do 5 jumping jacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. Next question. Right now, many of us are experiencing the month of spring, soon to be summer. For those of us located in the southern hemisphere, what season is occurring right now? Is it 1, summer, 2, fall, 3, winter, or 4, spring? Give people a couple seconds. Give people a couple seconds to fill in. And for those who are less successful this round, we're going to be doing 5 air squats. So we're going to do 5 air squats. So the answer to this question is fall 2. So if you were less successful, you're going to do 5 air squats. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, hopefully you're still with us. Next, second to last question. The month of June is originally named after the Roman goddess Juno, who represented this: youth and beauty, marriage and birth, home and hearth, or harvest and grain. This is a tricky one. Now, for those who are less successful, we're going to freeze for 5 seconds. All right, the answer to this question was 2, marriage and birth. I see some folks are really getting into this and really getting these questions right. I appreciate that. So for those who are less successful, we're going to freeze for 5 seconds. And 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Our actual second to last question is, what event signifies the beginning of the summer season? Is it 1, the vernal equinox, 2, the last day of school, 3, the first day of June, or 4, the summer solstice? Seeing some thinking faces. Okay, for those of us who are less successful, we are going to stretch our arms to the sky for 5 seconds. And the answer to this one is, of course, 4, the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. Those of us who are less successful, we're going to stretch our arms to the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And last but finally, during the month of June, which of these awareness campaigns occurs? Is it Accordion Awareness Month, Aquarium Month, Great Outdoors Month, or Fresh Fruit and Vegetables Month? Now, for this question, we are going to be showing off our best dance moves for 30 seconds if you get this question incorrectly. So I'll give people time to think. All right, the answer to this question is actually that all of them occur. So if you guessed any question, you were correct. You can save those dance moves for the next time around. That is the end of our June trivia. I'm going to pass it back to our wonderful facilitators, and hope we all have an amazing and educated rest of the evening.
Andrew, thank you so much. I am a huge personal fan of Playworks. And for those who may not realize, I used to work in the district and also worked extended learning through the Y and utilized the Playworks training to do lots of play activities 5 days a week with kids from different schools across the district, because I was assigned to different schools. And Playworks was a lifesaver for me, primarily because trying to make purchases or get games between 2 organizations, and by the time you actually got them in the classroom, it would be half the year was gone. So I really utilized the Playworks tools and just lessons I learned and applied them. And so oftentimes I would walk into school and not know what kind of space I was working with for that day. Because that's just how things operate, unfortunately, and for extended learning back then. And I got to do lots of play activities with virtually no budget, no supplies, whatever I could find on hand. And oftentimes, if we were fortunate enough to get the outside space, there were playthings I could find from Playworks' guide to do with the kids, again, with no budget. So I am just a fan. And something like this little brain break is just why I love Playworks. Like, so if you're not familiar with their work, encourage you all to attend next week's, because they're going to be one of the presenters talking about the work that they do and how they support play in the district. So there were a few questions. I was trying to catch them in the chat. And then unfortunately, we all started putting numbers into the chat, so I have to scroll up. But there were a few questions in here that I do want to just spotlight for some of the parents. Sarah asks if you can all name what school your child attends, or your grandchildren or children you have affiliated with the district. Dexter, I know you said your grandson's at 58, but if you want to share too what schools you work at, because I know you also do trainings with some of the staff across the district, or schools you're affiliated with. I'll start with you.
I am at, let me get my list together. I am at school 12. I am at school 46. I am at school, oh my gosh, let me not lie. I have so many schools at 33. And my last one, hold on. I believe it's 10. I believe it's 10. I'm going to tell you, I don't know the numbers, the schools like that, because virtually everything is a blur. So all I know that my calendar alert goes off at a certain time. I'm there with my games and I present. I am trying to learn the children's name and not the schools at this point, because at this point, anytime I call the child's name by their first name, I get a smile before I even get the chance to play, and that's I think is more powerful.
Thank you. Heather?
I have kids in the pre-K through generations. I have kids that are returning back to school number 2, and I have a daughter at Soda.
Thank you. Sasha, do you want to say, I know you mentioned it, but if you want to just put it out there again for your baby.
Sure. I have a 9th grader at Soda.
Ra, do you have kids in the district currently?
They used to be, but now they're at Rochester Prep. But I used to do different works with school number 10 and 5. So I was bouncing between those two, and then now they're in Rochester Prep.
Okay. Let's see. I'm looking at the chat and we only have about 4 minutes left. Sarah, I think Playworks question was answered. And so thank you, Andrew, for answering that in the chat. I don't see, let me see. Mona asks, oh, yes.
I was going to say, I just pulled a couple of questions and I just put them at the end of the chat for you.
Oh, thank you. I'm like scrolling up.
Yeah, and Yvette, Yvette, where do your kids go to school right now?
Yes. You're muted.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
My son is at number 22 and my daughter is at Upper Franklin High School.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
And Misi put her info in the chat. 11th and 5th grader. And Natasha has a son at Wilson Commencement. Toyin has an 8th and 5th grader as well.
I forgot to mention to you. I forgot to mention to you that I had my oldest graduated from Wilson. I don't know why I forgot about that. Girlfriend Wilson. I mean, because she's, out of sight, out of mind. I didn't think about it. But yeah, she Wilson. It was Wilson she went through.
So thank you, Ra. So key questions. Do you think the schools understand what play means? Heather, I see you shaking your head no. Do you want to start?
I think that the PE teachers understand what it means to play, and that is the only time I have seen my child actively playing. There is just so much sit, don't move, don't be engageful. There's a lot of fear. I think that if they get riled up, they'll lose control. And that's not what play is. They need to release that energy and be playful and have that banter and learn from each other. And that's not happening.
Thank you. Yvette or Dexter or Rod, do any of you want to take this question too? Do you think schools understand what play means?
Not at all. And being a person in my position at Playworks, it's so hard to get the adults in the building all on one accord to understand what play is. A lot of the adults in the building take play as a break time for them. And that's like Mr. Ross said earlier, that's the time to watch the children and see them and their development, to see how they play, how they interact, and then you can address that a little later. And to see what a person excels in outside of the classroom and relate that to learning later. Playing is the ideal time for educators and adults to take their time and look and watch their children interact. And that's when you find the true child, as I call it.
Thank
I
you.
agree.
Yvette?
I agree
Oh.
1,000% with that. No, go ahead. I'm agreeing 1,000%. I think they know. It's not that they don't know. I think they know, like Mr. Dexter, they know. It's like it's called, I call it lazy, right? Lazy education, right? Because I could do this and engage and do things, but they don't pay me enough to do it, or some don't do it. Some don't do it because it's not because they don't choose to do it or want to do it. And some are playing out jaded. They're jaded in their position. They're jaded in their things they're doing. So they themselves are burnt out. So they're burnt out from many different reasons. None of which are relevant to the development of the child, but they're burnt out. And some been there too long. Been there too long that they forgot how to play or to adapt to play, because play back then, play now is totally different. And the patient level is not there the same. So all that is gone to a degree. And it's like a moose swing. It comes in and goes, kind of a thing. So I think they're fully aware of it. They just choose not to do it.
Can I jump in?
Oh yes,
Right.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm leaving the meeting quickly because I have to take my son to a soccer practice. So
Oh, man,
I
I'm
just
jealous.
as an parent of a teenager in high school, like somebody mentioned before, a lot of times the focus is on play at the elementary levels, and I think it's very, very important throughout the entire lifespan of a person to learn how to play. I think a lot of times, like somebody said, when they get to high school, it's like the focus is more on academics, and we forget that part of their development, because the priority is placed on, the academic achievement. And so the classroom time and the school day is structured around that. And so kids don't get a chance to interact in a way that teaches them how to play. In fact, the irony is that my son's actually writing a paper right now as part of his IB program, requirements. and it's about leisure time and play and technology. So, you know, when we talk about play, I hope that we're going to also talk about adolescent play, and like, for example, the use of technology and the fact that there are kids that are utilizing technology right now to play with each other. And sometimes we as adults don't know it, don't understand the extent of it, all the hidden things that are going on associated with it. I mean, what I put in chat was the fact that I learned a lot about my son's maturity in terms of seeing him interact with other players as he's doing video games. And you know, I was so impressed in terms of him feeling vulnerable enough to tell me that he was concerned about some of the other players who were going through stuff, and especially during COVID, seeing how kids were not handling schoolwork well. You know, their sleep cycles off because they're on video games till 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, their whole day is off. The fact that they're not getting supervision from adults in their lives, and so they're like going off the rails, and they're seeking support from other people on video games to get through stuff emotionally, cognitively, sometimes academically, but although it's rarely academically, it's more the other stuff. And so there's this whole section of play that to me is critical, that needs to be looked at when we talk about middle schoolers and high schoolers, and how they're going to transition into adulthood to learn what is healthy play. So I just wanted to bring that up. I know you guys probably can't touch on that at this meeting and maybe in subsequent meetings, but you know, since I have to go and drive him to his soccer game right now, our soccer practice, I just wanted to throw that out, you know. And sorry I missed the first meeting because I was at a soccer practice for that, you know. So yeah, so that's all I had to say, you know, for now.
Thank you, Natasha, and good luck with soccer practice. And thank you for, you know, even being here in this capacity with that on your plate as well. Luz, well, Yvette, I'm going to turn it over to you. I said Luz because that's your name on Zoom, but I know you've been trying to jump in, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
No, I was just saying that play is, I don't think a lot of kids play in school like we used to in the back days. And I know with COVID, it's probably kind of hard, but I mean, like, I think we've had enough time to plan out if the teacher was gonna incorporate play, you know, to have it where we have self-distancing, because you can play different games with having space in between a child. There's always forms of playing games, maybe incorporating it in the class too, you know, how we just did right now on the phone. We did a cute, quick game. And we did, it was fun. You know, we either answered the question or we did our exercise with it. Why not incorporate that in school with the kids too?
Thank you. Sasha and Toyin, if you two would like to add, I see Toyin, you're unmuted, so.
Yeah, just because you told question totally asked if we think they understand play, and I said no, because you know why I say no? Because if they understood the importance of play, then it would not be an option, and it would be totally built strategically in the curriculum. And they would totally understand when you have that little child that you think is fidgety and can't still, you would know it's trying to get that child moving. Instead of trying to get them to sit still, it's time to get them to move around the classroom. Allow the child to walk or skip around, because that's the body's asking for. They don't understand that. Be it traditional or they totally incorporate play and use the punishment for realize this gift helping you, so they teach easy. Because I know when I was younger and when I got done playing, I was ready to learn again, because my body was I had just enough energy to concentrate on my schoolwork, and my brain was geared to learn some more.
I totally agree with Toyin.
Sasha, go ahead.
Yep, totally agree with Toyin. I think it's not a priority. And I think it's not utilized because it's not a priority. Everything Toyin just said, they can't possibly understand that if you knew that this child, when they get play, is better prepared to learn, or if you paired learning with play or academics, because play is learning as well. If you paired academics with play, a child naturally learns. I don't know that they understand that because we have effectively separated learning from play. It's like, oh, it's leisure. It's this afterthought, right? And so when children come into the classroom, like Toyin said, like we spend so much energy trying to get them to sit still. It's always the thing, sit down, be quiet, and just listen to me. And that's not how children learn most effectively. So I don't think they do understand that they're fighting against nature when they're not incorporating play into academics and learning.
Thank you, Sasha. I'm gonna wrap it up here and turn it over to Jen to talk about the poll everywhere, and then we'll talk about the SWOT analysis shortly after that. Jen? Oh, her screen froze, y'all. So, okay, so I'm gonna buy us some time, and I just want to thank all of our parents and who spoke tonight, our parent panelists, our parents who jumped in. So Sasha and Toyin, I just I love you guys, and I consider them play experts as well. They have been a part of this work long before I ever became a part of the work, as well as Miss Emma. And Yvette, who just presented with Heather yesterday at a national conference, and I got to watch both of them present on play, and Dexter and Roth. Thank you all. Jen put the link for Poll Everywhere. If you click on that, that should bring you up to the Poll Everywhere, and then you can start to type your name like we did last time. And then if you start answering the questions, we should be able to get a visual. So I am going to see if I can screen share. Oh, Jen can screen share.
All right, I'm good.
All right.
It stopped freezing on me, the whole thing, and it was like, great. Of course, this would happen when, there's 50 of us together. But that is the joy. So please sign into Poll Everywhere. If you click that link, it will take you right to the questions, or you can text if you're on your phone, or if you're at your kid's soccer game or wherever you are today, you can text Healthy Kids 321 to 22333. And we're gonna kick off our discussion of saying, what should playful learning look like in the Rochester City School District? So these next two questions are really about us starting to create our vision statement of what we want to see for every kid in the district. So we're seeing it's structured. Playful learning should be structured. It should be interactive. It should be fun. It should be unstructured. I love that. Realistic and fun. Another unstructured. If folks are having any trouble with accessing Poll Everywhere, you can always put your thoughts in the chat as well. We want to see different methods like arts and song and dance integrated into learning. Ooh, there's a big one. We want to see imagination and drive. It should be a welcoming, risk-free atmosphere. I love that. It should be inclusive of kids with disabilities, 100%, regardless of who your kid is, what their ability is, they should be able to play. We want time for students, for every age group to have a safe place to play. It should be creative, fun, engaging. Both children and adults should be having fun. Yeah, I agree. Child-centered and led, love it. More unstructured. safe. It should be geared towards students' interests. I love that. Not just kids who are good at sports, but to all kids. We want to interact with one another. It has to be hands-on and innovative. You know, play is universal. Spontaneous, creative. I love it. Interdisciplinary learning. We want it to be sometimes structured, sometimes unstructured, but really welcome it as part of the whole learning environment for the kid. It should be daily. Yes, 100%. You just run, just go with it, right? So it should be throughout the school day. No shaming. Yes, let's talk about an environment of playful learning for our kids where they're not disciplined for playing the way that they want to play, right? Or they're not criminalized or suspended for just being who they are and culturally expressing themselves through play that is relevant to them and their experience. Non-threatening, interactive, playful learning. It should be in all the curriculum. It should be the way for learning, not the exception. It has to, again, cater towards what students are. Yes. Communicative. I'm loving all the answers coming in, y'all. Play is a way of life and not just a special occasion. Dexter, yes. I'm here for that. Should be rough, safe, a real workout mentality. Boisterous. Giggle, sound, noise, talk. I love it. You want to hear that fun and joy of learning, right? Robust, anticipated. Oh, apparently Dexter was on that last week, according to Mona, and she hasn't forgotten it yet. Intergenerational, not dictated by test scores. Yes. All right, do folks feel okay in moving to the next question? Yeah, all right, let's do it. So our next question is kind of a lot like what we were doing before. Now I'm gonna full screen it so we can see the answers as they come in. Why should every child have the opportunity to play in their learning environment? So why should they? Send your thoughts in, and you can use the same link. It should show up if you just refresh. To relax, because it's how they learn. It reinforces learning. It's fun. Develops confidence. It's safe. It is the innate way of learning. Yeah, I think that's what everybody was saying last week, that play is important because it's a kid's way of learning. Because equity. Yeah, I love that. Let's just call it out, right? Create a warrior spirit of confidence. I love that. Play promotes all the skills we want to learn. It builds relationships. Kids need to play to learn. Yeah, it restores equity. I love that. I hope somebody in their breakout room talks a little bit more in detail about what they meant about that, okay? So when we're in our breakout rooms, talk about that one. Changing routine, because every child needs to play. It's a basic human right, yes. To grow and to be challenged, to get to know others. Y'all are awesome. Okay, so I am going to, you can keep putting your thoughts into this. I'm going to keep it open, but we are going to take a 10-minute break. So take some time. We'll come back here just a little bit at 6:57, so right before 7 o'clock. And then we're going to get in and really dig deep into our breakout rooms together and have a pretty deep and in-depth discussion. So if you all want to take your break, I'll keep this open throughout the break. If you want to keep sharing your thoughts, it will help us record all of your responses. But if you don't want to and you just want to go because you need a bio break or you need to look after your kids or whatever, go for it. And we'll be back here soon.
Hey, Jen, can I just add something before everybody leaves?
Yeah.
My daughter was able to attend this. Thank you for the ASL interpreters. It was very valuable. And I had to just drop her off at swim. And she said, Mommy, you were talking about play. She said, did you know bad kids can't play at school? All their recess time gets taken from them when they're bad in school. So it's so important.
So important. And no kid is bad, right? Like, let's stop that narrative. There is no such thing as a bad kid. There's such a thing as bad adults not doing their job to cater to the needs of that child, right? That's an adult problem. That's the educator's problem. It is not on our babies. None of it is on our babies. All right. On that note, before I start going off on a whole rant about that, go have your break. We'll be back here at 7:00. I think everybody's slowly coming back. Thea, can you hear me? I wasn't sure if you could see the chat or not. Thea from our team, are you there? Don't know if she is. She might be logging back in. Beatrice, do you see Thea?
I see Thea. I see Thea in the group Zoom here, but not on the other side.
Sorry, y'all, just give us a sec. We're logistically just trying to make sure our focus groups, our individual groups are set up. Sorry, we're having some internet issues. Some of our facilitators are, so y'all know if you live on the southwest side of the city that the internet is crappy, right? That's a thing. So some of our facilitators are having issues with their internet. So we're just trying to make some last minute adjustments to all of the breakout rooms because this is Zoom life, right? Y'all, if we were all in person, it would look a little bit differently, but this is the life that we're in right now. Thanks, COVID. Hopefully at the end of it though, right? Fingers crossed. All right, Beatrice, do you want to kick off and maybe explain the exercise and?
Yes. And then hopefully we get Thea back. And then if not, we'll pause and I'll give her a call. So for activity 2 for breakout rooms, just like we did last week, we're going to split up, but this week the rooms will be a little bit larger. So last week there were about 3 or 4 in each room. This week we have a much smaller number of facilitators and more of us will be together. And we are going to do what's called a SWOT analysis. And that's really looking at the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we'll look at our past strengths and weaknesses and hopefully get us thinking about future opportunities and threats and just to define threat in this realm here is really anything that would hinder what we come up with for moving forward. And that could be anything. And I'm going to even throw the board out there, the school board, whatever you guys think will be a potential threat to move forward in the landscape, put it out there. And then this will help us build a landscape on how we move forward by looking at our strengths, our weaknesses, what opportunities we have, and again, what threats or barriers we may have to overcome to make it happen. So we'll be breaking out. So Thea is not with us yet, and Thea is actually one of our support individuals in the back. So I'll give out the breakout room instructions. So for your team, assign a note taker. There will be a facilitator already assigned. The facilitator can be the note taker, but facilitators, if you also want to delegate or ask someone else to be a note taker, feel free. I am going to put the link for that in the chat right now too, to access the Google Doc. And that will be for the facilitators or the note takers. That will be the link to use. So that's the Google form that you will enter it in. Their questions are there. You'll have 40 minutes to have the discussion, and there are roughly around 4 key questions we're going to answer for the SWOT. So that gives us all about 10 minutes per question, give or take. just so everyone is aware. And then in addition to that, Thea will do a warning and it'll show up at the top of the screen when we have about 5 or 10 minutes left. So you will all see that. So Thea is back, and Thea.
And before we just, Beatrice, before we do,
You're breaking up. Suzanne.
is there anybody on call that you would like? I'm breaking up.
Yes.
I can ask, is there anyone else on the call that requires an ASL interpreter? Thank you very much, interpreters, for being here.
Thank you, Heather. All right, Thea, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So Thea's gonna start taking us away into the rooms. You should get a notice to jump into the room that you're assigned to. Give us 1 second.
Yeah, I wonder what's going on. I think it says I can just join though, right?
Yeah, you should be able to just go on and join.
Okay. Then I'm gonna do that. And then if you can work with everybody else here to make sure they get where they need to.
Okay.
And they get
And the interpreters are going to Heather's room?
Thanks, Thea.
You're welcome.
Jen, I got booted out. Once I was supposed to transition, I was supposed to be in breakout room 2. Can you help me get back, please?
She's in breakout room right now. What are you talking to?
Jen, I was talking to Jen.
Yeah, no, she's in breakout room too.
Can you tell her who's gonna put
Who needs to go? I can help you with that. You need to go back to what room?
number 2? I got booted out. I'm gonna do room 2, breakout room 2. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
They don't know who on the schedule. Yeah. I like her, you know, some people say she's mean, some people say, that is one guy, you know, say you like her.
We're talking over redistricting, the once a decade process to remap congressional districts. Right now, Republicans have a big.
We have a couple questions for you. We want to just spend a little, like, small amount of time debriefing together. I promise not to keep you past 8 o'clock. All right, Thea, is everybody back officially?
There's still a few more that has to come in.
All right.
Everybody should be back now, Jen.
Awesome.
I'll be back.
Okay, everybody, I hope you had amazing conversation in your breakout groups. And I just want to spend the next couple of minutes just opening it up to any of you and invite you to share maybe a takeaway or a little bit about what you shared in your breakout room. It's not mandatory. We're not going to go group by group, but just want to open that up to anybody who'd like to share it. You can also share in the chat if you don't want to just chime in. Does anybody want to share some reflections? So I see Allison is saying, you know, play needs to be prioritized from the top down. That's in state. I'm stopping my video, but I'm still here, y'all. I'm sorry, my internet is a mess. We need play prioritized from the top down. We need funding for that. We need equitable access as the starting point, research and evaluation. Does anybody want to chime in? You can just unmute yourself and share any reflections you might have. It's okay if you don't.
I already forgot the name of the person who was facilitating our group. Carla, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the pointing out about the political aspects of our entire system in Rochester is a really, really important point. And how that control, I think someone who was, someone from the state who came in, the expert educator or whatever he was called, and he pointed that out, that things in Rochester are not done for the kids. There are all different reasons why choices are made, and it's not, the priority is not typically the kids. That's a really, really important aspect. I also like the categories that were broken down for us in the chat sessions. I think that helps us really organize our thoughts in terms of not just a whole pot full of stuff, but the threats, the opportunities, the strengths, the weaknesses. I like that divided.
It's awesome.
And Carla mentioned that we can turn the weaknesses and look at them and turn them into opportunities. And I think that's really important for us to remember, that we turn it around and look at the positives.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked a lot about the possibilities in terms of being a college city and having so many corporations and so many more opportunities for partnerships and having parents who really do want to be active and partake. So we do have a lot of opportunities.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
Yeah, our team, you know, I invite anybody who wants to speak to step forward, but we stressed a lot around our opportunity, our parents and students, and that there's a lot of power in the grassroots to transform systems. And we see that. And right now, what we all need is parents and students to unify with the organizations that are invested, with the teachers and educators who are invested in this work, to work together to not rebuild a broken system, because the system, as Ross said, is working exactly as it was designed to work, right? But to really rethink how we want to educate our children, right? And how we prioritize that. So it was very powerful conversation. All right, I'm gonna continue us on because I do like keeping us, I know it's a late night, but you know, we will be taking all of that feedback and really, you know, that helps inform the plan. So your action items for this coming week are to share on social media one bright spot of playful learning in the district that you've learned about today or that you know about. And so you're going to use the hashtag #PlayRocksTheRCSD. Pull it up for you. Again, you're gonna do that. You're gonna tag Healthy Kids so that we can like it and amplify all the good stuff. And then we're gonna ask you to please share out the student survey and the parent survey. And if you need hard copies, y'all know to reach out to me, Beatrice and Alicia, and we will get them into your hands to do that, because we know school's wrapping up and maybe there's some time during kids teachers can take this on and run with it. So before we go, I have a couple polls for us. So the first is, we've been recording these sessions and we've got a lot of folks asking if it's okay if we share these out. So, you know, particular interest in the student and parent panel. Are folks comfortable with us sharing the recorded sessions? I'm seeing a lot of yeses, which is great. We don't want to assume, right? We didn't say that from the very beginning. So I just wanted to check with all of you before we did it. All right. The second question that we have is really not related. It's just a scale of 1 to 10 thing. But our next meeting is going to be next Thursday from 5:30 to 8. Hopefully you all can make it. If you can't, that's okay. We have your contact information. We will be following up with you. If you have friends or you're a student on the call and you have a friend that want to join in, they are absolutely 100% always welcome. So share with them the Zoom link and they are welcome to join, just as long as they're an RCSD student or family member. And then final poll of the night, and then you're good to go, is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the absolute worst, 10 being the absolute best, how would you rate tonight's meeting? And please just do that as you leave for the evening. I hope that, you know, you enjoyed the conversation tonight, right? And got to say a lot. If you have thoughts after the meeting, please reach out to the Healthy Kids crew, to me, Alicia, or Beatrice, and we will make sure your comments and thoughts and feelings get added. But have a wonderful night, y'all.
Yeah, and thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks. Have a great
Good
night.
night.
Somebody's capturing the chat, right?
Yep, I've saved the chat.
Good night.
Good night.
Beatrice, or Jen, can you drop the survey link real quick?
Yes,
Just so
I
I don't
actually have it all in a Healthy Kids blog.
Oh, well, I'll share the whole blog then.
Yep.
But Mona, if you need like hard copies of the survey, I was able to print some today in Spanish and English for Heather and drop them off. So
No, I don't see people. It's all online.
I just want to put it out there.
Thank you. All right. Good night, everybody. Great job.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mona.
Jen, did you see Joette's comment in the chat?
We hadn't thought to make the chats public, but we could
No, I don't
edit.
think I was gonna say, yeah, I don't think she would necessarily want her comments to be made public.
Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't put those publicly.
Yeah.
Honestly, like we're taking the feedback from everybody.
Right. I think she just, you know, she works in the district and she was open and honest. So I think she was just making sure that that stays with you.
Yes, no, we will. I'll email her, Joette.
Thanks. Have a good night.
All right, have a great night, y'all. Thea, thank you so much. Okay, Shauna, have a good one.
Shauna's been, was she the one doing the class?
What class?
Oh, there you
Kishana?
are.
Hi.
Hi. I was just concerned because I tried to put you in a breakout room and it didn't work.
I'm sorry. I left for a minute.
Hey.
I was able to meet it though.
Good. You're one, Kishana. Yeah, no, Kishana, go. You're good.
You're breaking
We're
up.
done.
Oh, okay. Good night.
Good night. Jen,
Thanks for
I'm gonna call you on Teams.
I'm listen down because my internet is not okay.